Hi, welcome to my channel. I will be discussing the Network Plus exam and what I did to pass it. I just passed the Network Plus exam about 2 weeks ago, and I have basically no background in IT. I just started an associate's degree in cybersecurity last year with WGU, and my background professionally is through the military, and they're paying for my degree. Although my job in the military has nothing to do with cybersecurity, but I found it to be an interesting thing, so that is what I'm going for. I got my CompTIA A Plus exam a few months ago as well, and like I said, just got my Network Plus certification 2 weeks ago. So I just wanted to go over some of the things that I found to be useful, and I wanted to say that this exam was a bit harder than I expected, and I spent a lot of time studying for it a little last minute. I would say the last week or two that I had a deadline to take the exam, I was basically spending every hour I was awake studying the material for it. A big mistake I made was that I could just skim through all the material and pick up enough knowledge to do well. But this certification contains a lot of required information that you just need to know. You don't have to be an expert at every little objective assessment in it, but there's quite a few things that you got to know. So one of the big misconceptions that I found with studying for this exam is that there is a ton of material out there talking about subnetting. If you don't know what that is, I'm sorry, I don't have the ability to explain that very well, but I did learn how it works and how to subnet, if you know what I'm talking about. But the exam itself does not have that many questions on subnet, and at least the one I took. See, they're most likely a little different for everybody. Something about the exam is here on the CompTIA website. You go to the CompTIA website and go to certifications over at the top. You can find your way through to Network Plus, and then you can get an overview of what's on the exam. See here, they put what skills you will have based on this certification. Here are some exam details. So the current version, I heard that these update like every year or so. So I took the most recent one for this time, which was the N10-009 exam. The exam is a maximum of 90 questions, and they are a mix of multiple choice and performance-based questions. My exam was only 70 questions, 70. So when they say there's a maximum of 90, it could be anywhere between 70 and 90, really. I don't know if it goes any lower than 70, but it might. The way this exam is graded is also kind of strange. A passing score is a 720, and it's on a scale of 100 to 900. 720 is very obtainable if you study well. And then the exam objectives that they list here is everything that you need to know for the exam. Um, Four big topics here. So, networking concepts, which accounts for 23% of the exam. And then the biggest one is network troubleshooting, which accounts for 24%. And then network operations and network security are a little bit smaller at 19 and 14%. Just as important as everything else, you're not going to pass this exam if you don't know the operations and security subject. Oh, I skipped over implementation, which is 20%. That's important too. So yeah, biggest thing that you have to learn is network troubleshooting. It's 24% of your exam. If you don't know network troubleshooting, you're not going to pass. So some things here that I struggled with personally was network troubleshooting. Um, Specifically routing. I did not really understand when I initially studied how important routing protocols were and how that all works. Like how a packet from your desktop gets sent to a server somewhere else. There's a whole story that you could tell there just off of one little packet of data. Um, Subnetting, that's big, right? I wouldn't say that, like, subnetting's a huge topic that you have to be a master of, but you need to understand it. I maybe only had one or two questions that were specifically subnetting related, but having an understanding of how subnetting works gives you a very good base for how IP addresses work. And that's very important to know throughout this exam. If you only memorize definitions of things, you're going to struggle. So, as you can see throughout all these objective assessments, there is a ton of acronyms. And over time, they're a lot easier to remember, but that's only a small portion of what you need to know. You can't just memorize what these all stand for. You need to know what they are, what type of protocol they are, how they work, and what they're used for. So you actually really need to know what all these acronyms are, not just what they stand for. Um, CompTIA wants to see how you think, not what you memorized. So the questions that you're going to be facing are very scenario based. They're not just what is the different types of network segmentation and then list these. Like, the questions are very scenario based. And that's why troubleshooting is so big, because they want to see how you think when there is a problem. They don't want to see that you memorized everything about networks when everything's just working. Like, most of the questions have some kind of issue or problem that you're facing, and you have to figure out how to solve that problem. And that's how you get your answer. Yes, it's multiple choice, but with the amount of information that you have to just know in general, you can get very caught up in your answers. So, very important. Sorry, my dog is barking. Sorry, I just paused there for a moment because my dog was barking like crazy. Okay, so a few more things I need to talk about. It's 1 second, sorry. Oh, cloud. Cloud operations, cloud networking. A lot of that was confusing me as I was studying for the exam. So that would fall under networking concepts. So cloud concepts. You have to know what the service models are. So software as a service, infrastructure as a service, platform as a service. Not just what they are, but what they are in relation to each other and how that gets tied in with deployment models, public, private, hybrid clouds. If you don't know who owns the problem in cloud, you're not going to get the question right. So if the question is asking you something that has to do with software as a service, if you don't know how the problem in the question ties into that, you're not going to answer it correctly, and you may answer it as platform as a service. There's very distinct differences between these, and you have to understand that the CompTIA questions are going to try to trick you. A couple other things, wireless standards. I got very confused with wireless devices and how those work. Not exactly just how they work. I understand that they're radio frequency. You don't have to go super deep into the theory of how they work, but uh, how they work as a service, right? So you have to know the different channels, the frequency bands. You have to know about SSID. So, like, that's the name of a Wi Fi network. Well, there's a little bit more than just that being the name of a network, right? There's different types, different standards with different encryption, like WPA, WPA2, or WPA2 Enterprise. You have to understand guest networks, authentication protocols, antennas, and access points. So, yeah, with wireless standards, you have to understand that these questions, again, are scenario based, and it's not a trivia just for the multiple choice answers. You have to understand the scenarios and what they're talking about when it comes to the information. Also, really important with Wi Fi is understanding different kinds of interference and what causes those. Remember, troubleshooting is really big, right? So you have to understand what could be causing issues with Wi Fi. Really big here is routing concepts. So you really need to understand how routing works, which means pretty much everything in networking concepts and implementation, right? Um, Static versus dynamic routing, interior protocols versus external, such as border gateway, route selection, and sub interfaces, which leads to network switches. You're going to spend a lot of time learning about network switches, VLANs, subnet, spanning tree protocol. It gets really deep into routing and switching. Um, some things that really helped me learn um, everything I needed to know for the Network Plus exam. Since I'm doing it through a college, they provide everything through CompTIA. So I had access to CompTIA's resources. I'm not sure where I would find that on here, but CompTIA has its own course essentially for all their certifications. Um, it's a little dry though. It's a lot of information to get through. I was pretty much required to do it for my school and to take their practice exams. Um, but if you can get on Udemy, there is a professor on there named Andrew Roundial. He has tons of courses for different certifications, and I watched every video that he made in his Network Plus course, and that definitely helped me get through this. I really like the way that he explains the concepts that were confusing to me before. Um, he does his teaching in scenarios, which helps because that is how the exam is given. It's scenario based again. Um, Sorry, I'm not very good on the mic. This is my first video, and hopefully this helps somebody like me. Um, but I'm not necessarily just making this to get views. I'm making this so that I can help myself learn and reflect on the things that I'm doing. I will continue releasing videos probably at least once a week to go over different things that I'm doing. If you're studying for the exam, don't give up. Find what things you're struggling with and just focus on those. Look at different learning resources that can help you. Um, just stay focused and stay on the right path. Struggling does not mean you're failing. If I could pass it, you can pass it too. Thank you.